Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, OT people of the world, security people of the world. Welcome to our next session of Nozomi Hour, where we cover the latest OT and IoT cybersecurity industry updates and insights. This time we cover the events that happened in the industry in the summer months. June, July, and August, and a little bit September. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anton. I'm industrial cybersecurity specialist and certified engineer at Nozomi Networks, with experience more than 15 years helping industrial clients all over the world to protect their industrial control systems. Big fan of the topic, so of OT cybersecurity, information sharing, community building. Happy to share the latest updates with you today. So, as always, in our format, we will be covering three main sections: the threat landscape updates, incidents, vulnerabilities, attack techniques, the regulation standards, frameworks news, and the technology part, tools, the resources, best practices in the tools. We also will be covering what's new happened with the Nozomi portfolio, with our company. And let's get started with threat landscape update. As always, the first slide is on the vulnerability that have been published during this period. On this slide, you see the list of vendors and their vulnerability advisories, with the number of those vulnerability advisories audited, sorted with the CVSS severity score. You see the Siemens, Rockwell, Johnson Controls on the top. But again, the CVSS score is not enough for prioritizing vulnerability. That's why I highlight those vendors who have the potential exploitable vulnerabilities, either present in known exploited vulnerability catalog by CISA, or those that have the EPSS score more than 1%, more than the level that is enough to consider them critical, and that the vulnerability that might be exploited in the near future, in the next 30 days. So this time, two vendors have exploitable vulnerabilities, potential exploitable vulnerabilities. They are Siemens and Rockwell. And list of those vulnerabilities and their CVs on the screen, and also names of the products. So this time it's OPCDA server by Rockwell Automation, the Siemens network switch device, Siemens network management system, and Siemens distributed control system. Again, just a snapshot of vulnerabilities in OT system. You should remember that there are IT components in OT environments. They also have their vulnerabilities that should be taken into account. Just an example of prioritization, not the final prioritization approach, because there are other factors that should be taken into account, like criticality. But this time, this is the highlight of the vulnerabilities during this period. Talking about the cyber physical incidents that had the physical consequences. This summer, not many incidents with confirmed physical consequences, but I selected a couple of them, such as the manufacturing incident in manufacturing industry in Germany and the US in June and July. In US, it was the large forklift manufacturer Chrome equipment that shut down the production worldwide due to ransomware attack, and there were some rumors that it was phishing email with some malicious link. The second one is the Germany manufacturer, international radiator and heat exchanger manufacturer AKG Group, that also announced that they shut down their IT infrastructure and temporarily interrupted production in some plants due due to the attack. No details on the type of attacks here, but probably ransomware. But again, just headlines of the news, not very detailed articles on that, just showing the potential consequences. Talking about incidents, important information published during this period. In July, the information about attack in Ukraine in January of this year, new OT specific malware called Frosty Group Busted Burn turned off the heating in apartment buildings in Ukrainian city Lviv, leaving residents in freezing temperature in the middle of winter. And this time, this OT malware attacked Modbus TCP-based control systems. So we all know that Modbus is not secure, no encryption, no authentication, no integrity checking, and this is just example that can happen, and this actually happened. The next one more OT tailored malware in line with Stuxnet, Triton, Pipedream, and Industroyer. So again, this is the malware just used the native capabilities of Modbus protocol to a program controller to change set points, and this is it. This is what we have. And the fourth incident I wanted to highlight, again, there are a lot of information about that. It's not an attack, but it's global cross-industry incidents relevant to critical infrastructure as well. In July, cybersecurity company CrowdStrike distributed a faulty update to its software that caused problems with Windows computer, and more than about 8.5 million system crashed to blue screen, and including the systems in critical infrastructures such as airports, medical equipment, train and bus station, and it was called the largest outage in history of information technology. For OT industry, it's just a reminder that endpoint security is very critical area, and to protect endpoints in OT environments, the solutions should be tested, the updates should be tested, the solution should consume less resources than the IT solution. So this is the requirements, for example, we took into account when we created our Nozomi Arc endpoint sensor. So be careful with the endpoint. This can happen. And moving on, also lots of incidents with ransomware with less serious consequences, more with data stealing, and in that light, Global Resiliency Federation published their new regular report on ransomware updates for the second half of this year, based on public sources and conversation in criminal forums. Fifth year in a row, manufacturing is the top target sector for ransomware operators due to such reasons as poor cybersecurity posture, lack of network segmentation, and what is interesting, due to presence of insurance plans and funds to pay ransom. So we see that insurance company giving money to victims, to pay ransom. In that way, they support the criminal market. They support the unfortunately ransomware. Another insight that Logbit is named the most active actor again, even that early this year, law enforcement agency destroyed the infrastructure. We see the group has set up new infrastructure, demonstrating us that some criminals have better disaster recovery plans than some of their victims. And nevertheless, the law enforcement action increased globally, destroying ransomware infrastructure. Another insight from the report that new ransomware groups started extorting their victims after they then pay ransom. If earlier it was kind of trust model between victim and criminals, if we can say so, that after paying ransom, they can be kind of safe for a while, getting data back. Now, new ransomware group breaking this model, making the paying ransom less reliable security risk mitigation measure. It's never been perfect. Now it's less reliable. So showing us better to invest money into cybersecurity processes than for paying ransom. And there are some other sector-specific insights, including energy, manufacturing, OT component producers, and oil and gas industry. Moving on, talking about some technical, actionable threat intelligence, some good write-up and reports with details, attack techniques, indicators of compromise, two entities I would like to highlight here. The first is CISA. They published reports on updates on ransomware groups impacted hundreds of businesses, critical infrastructure globally, such as Royal, Black Suit, and Ransom. Ransom Hub, for example, was I mentioned during our last session. They attacked the Spanish bioenergy company plant. They destroyed SCADA systems and it caused downtime. And good to have the updates, actionable updates now from CISA. And the second part is two good write-ups to reports on nation-state APT activities targeting critical infrastructure globally, including US, Europe, Middle East, Amber Bear, and Fox Kitten. And Fox Kitten, interesting, that is nation-state APT that collaborate with ransomware groups, like achieving their goals, working with ransomware. We heard that a lot before. Now we have another country, another nation-state that's nation-state APT that does that. All the reports with the techniques, signatures, and our security research team, Nozomi Network, we monitor these reports. We add this actionable threat intelligence into our threat intelligence feeds, of course. And we published as well the good write-up on with the details on this OT malware for the group that's that attacked Ukrainian heating systems, with details on behavior of this malware, with signatures, how to attack that, and with example how Nozomi Network monitoring solution, we can monitor and detect the behavior of this Modbus-based malware without deep pocket inspection for industrial purposes. So good right now. Moving on. This time I also decided to start highlighting the different angle of OT and IoT cybersecurity, namely the exposure of OT and IoT devices from internet. Many of us, we know that there is a Shodan service that scans the internet, that finds the internet-connected devices, including OT and IoT and industrial IoT devices. And this is the statistics on this kind of devices connected to the internet from the beginning of this year. The statistics is a little bit volatile, but we see there is a decreasing trend. And if we take a look, for example, for a longer period of 10 years, it's also decreasing. It's a positive sign that fewer devices are connected to the internet now, but there are still thousands of this type of devices directly connected to the internet. You can imagine that, well, that there are indirectly connected devices behind firewalls, VPN, gateways, remote access servers with their own vulnerabilities and weak passwords and so on. But even here, we have directly connected thousands. And this is a snapshot of those devices by their protocols in August, for example. We see on the top Modbus, BACnet, KNX, showing us that the top connected devices are building management systems. Just highlighting the importance, again, the OT network communication monitoring with external network, with partner network, and of course, and also I would like to highlight the supply chain problem that even if company doesn't have internet connected devices directly, there are connections with external network, with partner network, with partners, clients, service provider that may have this kind of devices connected to the internet, and so they can be victim indirectly as well. So everything is connected. Not a big news, but this is just a current snapshot of what's going on. Moving on. Mentioning the attack techniques, I also wanted to highlight the new projects and resources by Mitre organization on attack techniques relevant to OT environment. First project is first project is called Defending OT with Attacks. It's among other interesting insight in there. The most valuable I see, they merge relevant attack techniques from different MITRE attacks frameworks, so enterprise, ICS, cloud, and containers. Those techniques that are relevant to OT environments. So now there is no need to jump between framework, building the threat model to security assessment of your OT, security assessment of security solution. Now there is this project with one big matrix, big table with all the techniques in one place. Good tool for OT defenders. The second news, the Mitre announced next round of their attack evaluation ICS for ICS exercise. What is it? It is a test and evaluation of security product capabilities against attacks in the OT environment. And 2 years ago, they had a first round of this exercise. They tested security solution against Triton type of attack. And next year, they want to have it against insider attack behavior in OT domain. And Mitre now announced that will be next year, and they call for contributors from asset owners, industrial, the vendors, the security service providers to contribute their knowledge and expertise about insider attack techniques. Good. And yeah, and the third one, it's not 100, it's not focused on OT. It's Mitre Atlas. It's a community knowledge base of threats to AI-enabled system and mitigation. But the reason I wanted to highlight it here, because we see more and more OT security solution offering their machine learning and AI capabilities in there for security purposes. We see the industrial control systems that industrial automation control vendors offering their control system with machine learning engines enabled. Now their systems getting more, this kind of system getting more vulnerable and exposed to the attack to AI engines. And that's good that Mitre has their framework when they collect all possible types of techniques against AI and machine learning engines. And this summer, they launched a collaborative project to enhance Mitre Atlas, and in particular to connect it more to Mitre attack frameworks. So interesting resource for those who are interested in AI machine learning application, AI machine learning application to OT cybersecurity. And that's it for threat landscape update. And we are moving to standards and regulations. This time, all the news I wanted to highlight is about 62443 standard. First of them is that IEC published the second edition of 62443 2-1 part of the standard series, which is security program requirements for IACS asset owners. This part specifies asset owner security program, policy and procedure requirements for systems in operation. The most significant changes in this part, in this version, are that they revised requirement structure into security policy elements. They revised requirements to eliminate duplication of information security management system, and also they defined a maturity level for evaluating requirements. This standard, this part is a kind of analog of 27000 ISO 27001, but for OT environment. So for building security program and procedures. Good to have it updated. The second use regarding 62443, I wanted to highlight that ISA Secure, which is the certification body for 62443 standards, they published interesting report on applicability 62443 standard to cloud-based component of OT and IoT infrastructure. Seeing more offering from industrial automation vendors in cloud, they're seeing that clients and asset owners are open to move some components to cloud. They're concerned about that, and they published the report with the consideration how 62443 standard can be applied to cloud components of IoT infrastructure, and how the certification against this standard can be applied to this component. And among other things, they propose a new category of cloud service called OT as a service, a new role of cloud provider in addition to existing asset owner, manufacturer, and service provider, and they offer new certification for this component. So ISA Secure doesn't encourage people to move components to the cloud, but just seeing how this component can be protected and certified with existing standards, and what changes should be done to the standards to effectively apply the standards to this environment. Good. So highly recommended to those who are interested in cloud application to OT and OT cybersecurity. And the third news also about ISA Secure, that ISA Secure was selected as exclusive verification provider for cybersecurity certification by Open Process Automation Forum. The Open Process Automation Forum is an association of industrial automation vendors and asset owners that developed open process automation standard that defines an open interoperable security process automation architecture. This standard has profiles that define the various segments of this architecture, and the certification program is based on these profiles. And in each of these profiles, there are requirements, cybersecurity requirements. These requirements equate to IEC 62443 4-2 part standard, security level 2. And now the ISA Secure is a certification body that can certify industrial automation vendors against these OPAST standard profiles. So good for industrial automation vendor to prove their alignment with OPAST standards, and for asset owners to have additional benchmark showing the quality of security of the vendors. Okay, and that's it with standard updates this time. And moving on to technology trends, something practical. First of all, big news of this summer. Nozomi Networks launched the industry first embedded sensor for OT devices, for controllers, for embedded devices, which is called Nozomi Arc Embedded. This is the embedded version of our standard Nozomi Arc endpoint sensor for Windows, Linux, and macOS. Now we have it for controllers. And we launched it in collaboration with Mitsubishi. Now we support Mitsubishi QC Melsec IQ R series. And we're actively working with additional vendors to add Arc embedded to their controllers and distributed control systems. What does it do? It does the PLC inventory, software, hardware, vulnerability data, the hardware utilization monitoring, the status change monitoring, reading behavior monitoring for level 0 field devices as asset owner, as a sensor and actuators. And it also turns PLC into network sensor for network attack and anomaly detection and doing smart polling the active asset inventory from PLC position. So all in all, additional extension for visibility close to the level 0 devices, the level 0 communication monitoring, and the asset details for level 1 devices. The next one, new launch recently in September, we launched new interactive threat intelligence dashboard on our cloud management platform Vantage, which is called Vantage Threat Cards. It's a new insights in visualization for threat intelligence feeds for threat intelligence we deliver to our users. Now they can not only they detect attacks with that threat intelligence, but also see some additional analytics for this threat intelligence. They can search and filter for threat details in this dashboard, threat actor's name, first and last seen in the wild, malware families and associated indicators of compromise, source and target country, target industry, associated vulnerabilities and exploitability of those vulnerabilities, mapping threat intelligence to MITRE attack framework, and also relevant alerts that detected based on this threat intelligence. So all in all, additional visualization, additional tool for security effort prioritization for our users. And next one, also big launch, we added new dynamic customizable risk assessment tool to our Vantage platform for better risk management, which is called Asset Risk Score. So now each individual asset has its, this total asset score for the asset, and as well zones, sites, and entire organization containing this asset also have their own risk score. And this risk score is calculated based on detailed risk factors such as alert risk, vulnerability risk, the communication risk, device risk, asset criticality, and compensating control in place. The risk factor customization, by default, the risk score is calculated based on default formula. But each user can customize this risk calculation according to their own environment. They can create their own set of assets based on asset criteria, asset group criteria, with asset risk rules that we have in our system. And after that, this risk might be monitored on dedicated risk dashboard in our system, where the risk might be seen over time, the risk changes, the risk prediction in the future, as well as, again, for unique assets, for sites, zones, and the entire organization. And also the risk might be compared with benchmarks for the industry, with the industry average score, with this the risk score for similar customers having similar vendors and similar products in the environment. All in all, new additional risk management tool for better risk management for executive level users, for CISOs, for security risk analysts. Huge addition to our platform. And beyond Nozomi updates, what else happened in the community? CISA published their new project on GitHub this summer, which is called Attack-Based Control System Indicator Detection, ACID, for ZIG tool. ZIG is an open source network monitoring platform, and now there are detection for some MITRE attack techniques for so far for three industrial protocols based on CISA's industrial protocol parsers: S7COM, Siemens, Ethernet IP, Rock Automation, and BACnet. Again, good tool to play with, not that powerful as commercial solutions as Nozomi, for example, but good to have it in the lab for research and education purposes. Moving on, another interesting news that it's relevant to OT cybersecurity job market. The company, Automation Job Search, published new discipline focused job board for professionals working within industrial automation. So additional job board for those who are looking for a job, who wants to understand the OT security job market, to hire professional. It's in this job board, it's easy to subscribe, to follow job openings in specific countries, by specific keywords, and it's not the only one. Good job board for OT security people. There are job boards from CSA community, Sans ACS community, Verge management, and LinkedIn, of course, to be perfect. It's a great place for subscribing for some openings and following what's going on in OT cybersecurity job market. All that links to job boards are available in the ICS Security Tools community GitHub. So if you're interested, visit it and check. And mentioning today the ICA Secure a couple of times, I also wanted to start highlighting their efforts and in certification scheme and new certificates. And this ICA Secure is a certification body for 62443. And they have 3 certifications so far that have certified vendors and products. One of them is the component security assurance certification against part 4-2, the security of individual components, that certifies the control system components, including the network devices and cybersecurity systems as well. And interesting, the new certificates for this certification in this summer on the screen. You see there is a Schneider Electric, Velo, Cisco, Eurotech. And interesting about this certification that starting from the end of the last year and then this year, now there are first three products, components certified against security level 3 of this standard. So this is the quite high level of security, the protection against intentional violation using sophisticated means with moderate resources, ICS specific skill, and moderate motivation. Good, it shows the efforts and desire of vendors to prove that they're more secure than others. So you see the names of these products and vendors: GE, Bytron, Cervelo. And also updates this summer for system security assurance and security development lifecycle assurance. The vendors, the systems are on the screen. We see Schneider Electric, and some other vendors who certified their security development lifecycle. What else about that? There are 2 certifications that ICA Secure has. One of them is industrial IoT components that was launched like recently, 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But I haven't seen any certificates for this certification yet. And the certification I mentioned today, they started the OPA standard. Also, there are no certificates for this system. And the ISA Secure is working on additional certification scheme, the ACS Security Assurance for certification of security assessment process. That is going to be launched next year, as far as I know from their announcement. And they recently mentioned in one of the presentation that they're working on industrial IoT system security assurance certification. So you see they have the industrial IoT component security assurance, and they want to have the system security assurance, the second, the more broader certification. So all in all, good resource to follow industry cybersecurity efforts, to see those vendors who try to be more secure, and also good to use these requirements as a source of security requirements in procurement documentation for asset owners. And that's all updates that I wanted to share with you today. Just the final reminder that all the recordings and slide decks of our Nozomi hours are available on our website. If you want to check the links or some content, feel free to visit it, or anytime contact me for any questions. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. And we have time for Q&A. Let me check what we have on LinkedIn in comments. Thank you everyone for coming. Okay. What do we have? Good evening. Hi, everyone. Yes, we have slide resources. The questions about the comment about ARC embedded, that we understand that ARC embedded is used for providing security and visibility to all the devices in level 0 and currently supports Mitsubishi PLC only. Yes, that's correct. It's for monitoring communication of level 0, level 1 communication, and now Mitsubishi only, but we are adding. We're working with our other vendors they are on our roadmap, and we hope we will announce that in the near future. Okay, what else do we have? Any other questions, folks? All right. I see there is no more questions. So thank you very much for coming. And as always, you can reach out to me if you have anything to ask and to discuss. The next Nozomi Hour session will be in December. We will be covering what happened during this autumn, September, November, October, November, and looking forward to seeing you there. And then thank you very much. Have a good day.